Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are now live, and I am so excited because this is a special edition of A Conversation with Floyd Marshall and my amazing co host, Okima T. Moore. And today we have three dynamic Black women filmmakers and directors with Oscar qualifying films. We have now, if I say your name wrong, please correct me. Huriyyah Muhamad.
Huriyyah.
Huriyyah, see, there you go.
I
Huriyyah
knew
Muhamad.
I knew Okima was going to.
I fix it every time.
The director
I've
of.
literally screamed it out.
Thank you so much because I didn't know how to pronounce it. I'm so glad you corrected me. The director of Chocolate with Sprinkles. We have Tamika Lamison, the director of Superman Doesn't Steal. And we have Kameishia Wooten, the director of Choices. And she happens to be my mentee. And I'm so excited about that. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited that all of your films are Oscar qualifying films. Welcome to A Conversation with Okima. Do you have anything to say?
Well, first of all, thank you. This is my first show as the co-host of A Conversation with. I'm so excited. And plus, all of these women are personal friends, personal inspirations, personal mentors. Tamika, Huriyyah. I'm just getting to know Kameishia, but let me tell you something. She out here. And then, I have a personal connection to Chocolate with Sprinkles as the producer. So it's really exciting to talk to you ladies. And we're going to talk all the things. I may ask a couple probing questions, but let's get into it.
Listen, thank you so much for inviting us. This is exciting. It's always so awesome to talk about our work. So thanks for having us.
Yes, and to talk about our work in such great company. I've seen all these films. All these films are fire.
Yes.
So, yes.
Yeah, well, you know what? Kameishia reached out to me a few weeks ago, I think, and she said, Floyd, I have some amazing women with Oscar qualifying films. Would you like to talk to them? And I said, well, heck yeah. Now, here's the thing. I had stopped my podcast until January. But when she sent me an email, I said, "Oh well, we got to fire the engine back up and get these dynamic women on because this is very important, and especially with everything that's going on now, we have to really elevate Black voices, because of everything that's happened. But I'd just like to start if all of you could just tell me how you got into the business and, what motivated you to, stay on the path of making films because it is not an easy business to be in. Anybody can go.
That's a long and winding road. I mean, I've always been a storyteller ever since I was a little girl. I started writing rhyming couplets when I was like, I don't know, 6 or 7. And that came from being an avid reader. I think a lot of people know that being an avid reader translates to writing. Then I auditioned for The Wiz when I was a little girl. I wasn't the best singer, so I didn't get it, but I got the acting bug. So then I got into acting. I went to school for acting, and I was always writing at that time too. And then that translated to directing. And it just all sort of, and I just stayed on the path. I was acting in New York and doing regional theater. I was writing at the same time. And then I wrote a feature called Jar by the Door, which won the Gordon Parks Independent Film Award through the IFP, the Independent Film Project. And that's what really kicked everything off because I used the money that I won from that contest. It was $10,000. That was a lot of money back then. Yeah. It's no little thing right now, but it's a lot of money back then. And I moved to LA, and the rest is history. I started directing, getting into fellowships, and doing all the things. And I have just always been a storyteller. It's how I express myself in all the different ways. And yeah, that's it. This was one of those stories that I had to tell.
Wow, that's amazing. Kameishia, you wanna go for it?
Sure. It's been a while. I have a long origin story, but I will say I started as a theater camp kid first because I was a performer, like singing. I wasn't an actor, but I did do some acting as a kid. And then I didn't know you can go to school to be a filmmaker until I went to college to be a lawyer. And my classes were so boring. A lot of filmmakers have lawyer stories. I feel like most filmmakers went to school to be lawyers and found out they want to be filmmakers. And so my classes were so boring. There was no way I was going to be able to do this or go to graduate school for law. So I looked through the catalog, saw a film class, took it, was hooked, fell in love, and made my first film. I went to UNC Chapel Hill. And so we had a screening. My friends came and they were like, wow, you're really talented. And so I talked to one of my professors about it. And he was like, if there's anything else that you want to do, you should do it. And he was like, it's really hard and a lot of people don't make it. And so me being a very God-fearing, spiritual person, I fasted and I prayed for about 2 days because it was time for me to decide whether I'm gonna take the LSAT or the GRE. Oh, wow. And you can't, and studying for both is crazy. And so I did that and decided, okay, was led to this career. And I think what was the answer was I wrote an essay in one of my film theory classes, and I was one of the 3 students chosen, and it was to have a private 4-star dinner with Sidney Pollack, the producer.
Wow.
And so, yes. And so I had an evening with Sidney Pollack. He was an amazing person. And I felt like that was God giving me yes. And then I ended up getting an internship with Oscar-winning documentary filmmaker Barbara Trent. And that was my second yes, like my okay. And then the third sign was getting an internship in Los Angeles, interning for Lifetime Television in their development department. And so I fully committed to it, applied to film school, got into film school, and I've been on that path ever since.
Wow. That's amazing. And, I was just, it's so interesting because for both of you, I'm just such big fans. And so I was wanting to hear your origin stories too, and there's so much synergy with my own story. Tamika, I also was an avid reader, and that launched my journey into wanting to be a storyteller and wanting to be a filmmaker. I always wanted to write the great American novel, but I was never disciplined enough to write a novel. I would get like maybe 100 pages in, and then I would lose kind of like my fire for that story. And then I would be on to the next story and the next story and the next story. And then Kameishia, like you, I majored in computer science in undergrad with a minor in mathematics, but there's no way I had the passion for that. So I was, in New York City, just trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. And I fell into advertising, and I was really good at it because I really love people. And I love like just the, and I have these natural leadership tendencies from watching my parents in our donut shop for so many years. And so I was really good. I was working on an account agency side, and I was managing Western Union, General Motors, Heineken, McDonald's, like some of our agency's biggest clients. And I was helping to set the strategies and the budgets and managing the different departments in the agency to create the creative executions. And I just wasn't passionate about it. And then I realized I was watching Girlfriends. Mara Brockakil, I will credit her every single time because I'm watching Girlfriends and I'm like, somebody's writing this. And it had never occurred to me to like pursue television or film as a storytelling medium. And so I cashed out my 401k, and I had $10,000 in it at the time. And I was like, let's go. And I had my plant and my teddy bear in the front seat, and I drove myself west for 5 days. And when I got to LA, I said, I got to figure out how to write a story that somebody's going to want to make. So I started as a production assistant on a film. And that same day I got promoted to script supervisor. And by the end of the film I was producing, and that launched my journey into independent film producing. And that took me through, many, many years where that was my film school, actually making features and making films. And I got a chance to finally produce a film that I had written because I went out to LA to become a screenwriter. And on that film, it was so amazing because I fell in love with actors because they saw something within my work And with what I had put on the page, they brought it to life in a way that I had never even imagined. And at that time, just producing, they were kind of like, you know, okay, I need my equipment, I need locations, I need actors, you know, like, but having written something and seeing those actors bring it to life, it was just like, I just really fell in love with actors. And then on that same production, I got a chance to direct a few of the scenes, and it was like pistons started going off like pew 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 pew. Directing brings the best of what I love about writing, which is being creative and, you know, creative vision, and the best of what I love about producing, which is leadership, just in a different seat. And it brings those two things together. And I'm forever thankful that I had the journey that I had, because it prepared me and given me a vantage point that that I'm very appreciative of today.
I just wanted to say, I love that part about you just going, I can do that. Somebody had to, somebody's writing that, you know, because I had a friend, Warren Drummond, you might know him. He's he does storyboards. And he was, and this was a long time ago, we were kicking it around New York, and he goes, and I said, yeah, I'm on New York Undercover. I feel like I could write one of those episodes. And he's like, you should do that. And I said, but I need a script. I don't know how to do it. And so he actually gave me a Seinfeld script. And I wrote a Seinfeld script and gave it to him. And he was like, that's really good. You should really do that. Then I lifted one from New York Undercover and did the same thing. I used it as a, like we can get them. They're available now, but back then it wasn't as easily available. We didn't have Final Draft and all that. I was still doing Microsoft Word.
Yeah, and I remember that guy who used to be outside of Greenwich Village selling a script. So you remember that guy on the table, because it was before we could just type in PDF script, and so we had paper scripts.
So wait, ladies, we've heard your origin stories. Tell me now a bit about the story that you are Oscar qualified for, and how or what made you write this story and bring it to life to get to this place.
Okay, I'll go first. So my film is Chocolate with Sprinkles. And this film, it's just like, it's amazing because, I always say that my stories never got great until I started talking about myself, and they became personal, my own personal story. And this film is inspired by my parents, who owned and operated a donut shop in Cleveland, Ohio. And, that donut shop kept a roof over our heads and kept food on the table. That donut shop, was a source of employment for so many people within our community for so many years. So many people who were down on their luck, would come in, and my dad would give either somebody a job, or my mom is constantly giving out food. And people just really looked up to my parents and respected my parents. And I didn't really realize that what they stood for and what they were doing was so amazing until I got to college and was able to say, like, oh, wow, like these people are really, really amazing, And so, but my parents argued all the time, to the point where I would just wish that they would get a divorce growing up. And I would be like, look, I'm gonna live with mom because dad is never gonna have any food in the house. And we'll come back to the donut shop and we'll work in the donut shop and it'll be gravy. But, now that I'm an adult, I have my own business, I have a child, I'm married. I look back on their relationship, and my parents have passed away. But I look back on their relationship with such different perspective. And I wanted to tell a story that really celebrates them and honors them. And so the film, Chocolate with Sprinkles, the official log line is, on their 25th wedding anniversary, a married couple gets the chance to do something they haven't done in 25 years, which is work on their marriage. And anybody who's been in a relationship, let alone a marriage, knows that sometimes the marriage is the last thing. The relationship is the last thing that you pour into and that you actively work on. And, for my parents, who were running a business, had 8 children, and who at the end of the night probably just wanted some peace for themselves, a minute for themselves. Like, when do they have time to work on their marriage? And so this film is like a love letter, and my celebrating and honoring them.
Wow.
Love it.
Amazing.
Thank you.
What about you, Kameishia?
Choices came from many different elements. you know, choices came from like just many different places. But I will say, initially, I had a feature script that I was sending out, and my producer I had the abortion scene in it at the end. And my producer said, hey, if you remove this abortion scene, I may be able to pitch it to someone who's looking for a faith-based, because it had elements of that in there. And I wasn't happy about it, but I did it to see if the script was still working. It still worked really well, but it didn't feel right in my spirit. And so I had reproductive freedom on my mind in 2021. And I just was writing. I wrote a pilot and then also wrote Choices. And so I didn't realize how personal it was until I got deep into it. And so Choices came about due to the lack of positive representation of Black teens storylines with reproductive health themes. Like, we don't have a Juno, we don't have a I'm pregnant, we don't have a Plan B. And so I wanted to write something that showed Black teens dealing with everyday life situations with grace and beauty. And so, it's Juno is like a Breakfast Club. Choices is like a Breakfast Club meets Juno. And so I wrote it and then I pitched it for grants, and I ended up getting the Women in Film Google grant. And I really before pitching, I had to really talk about how personal this story was, and I had to do some inner searching for it. And I realized, wow, this story is for me. Like it's for me. Like I terminated a pregnancy when I was a teen, and I felt shame about it for so many years and never really talked about it. And so Choices was really what I needed as a teen. And so that is how Choices came about.
Wow.
I love that.
Yeah.
Tamika?
So Superman Doesn't Steal has been kicking around in my brain for many, many years. It's inspired by a core childhood memory shared between my brother and I growing up in the South. And the official logline is, it's based on a true story and set in the 1970s during the Atlanta child murders. A young brother and sister with a love of comics face a series of impactful events which cause them to question the meaning of heroes, villains, Superman, and themselves. And so the event that happened, my brother made a pretty tragic mistake, and it kind of it traumatized our family. And so it sort of had been in my mind for a long time. And I wanted to tell the story, and I knew but I wanted to honor it, right? So, and it was still every time we talked about it, my brother and I would talk about it a little bit every now and then, but it was a vulnerable sort of space for us. So once I wrote it and I sent it to him, he's a very harsh critic. I knew if he gave me the green light that I'd be ready to go. So he called me, he was crying. He said, you really captured it, and now you have to do it. And then I started crying because I was like, I have to do it. Oh no. But so that's really where it came from. And I have to say that once my family saw it, they recognized it has actually been cathartic for my family and for my brother. So I feel good about that. I feel like it's a little sliver of legacy for us. It's a little bit of our family legacy film.
So Tamika, I want to ask you, because when I watched your film, because I watched everything today because I wanted it to be very fresh in my mind. And there was a scene that really stood out when the brother and the sister rode to the bottom of the driveway and said hello. And then the one officer said what he said. I'm not going to say anything because I want people to see it for themselves.
Yes.
But then the one officer said what he said about what he may have to do one day.
Yeah.
And I had such a visceral reaction. And it took me, I'm not going to lie, it took me practically the remainder of the film to come back down from that.
Yeah.
So because as Black people, we've all lived that.
Yes.
So can you talk about, when you wrote that scene and when you guys were actually shooting that scene, what was the mindset on the set like?
That moment, I think of that moment as a loss of innocence for the kids. It was a loss of innocence for my brother and I. It was a loss of innocence for the kids. And I feel like the way that it impacted you, it's a loss of innocence for the audience members as well, because it's very sort of this childhood fun happening. And then that profound moment happens, and and people are they literally intake of breath when that moment happens. And so on the set, it was tough because the guy playing the cop is a really nice guy. So he had a really hard time doing that moment. And I had to direct him a lot in that moment because it's just not who he is. So we had to really get to that point where it's like, this is a character. We know it's not you. And you have to just get in there and think about, because there's a lot of people out there like this. It's not you, but there are people like this. And this is an actual thing that happened to my brother and I. We wanted to be as authentic as possible. So I think people on the set understood how profound that moment was. And we had conversations about it. Everybody was very good natured after it, and supported what needed to be supported. Him, us, we all needed to be supported in that moment. And the kids, of course, as well, because, this was, they had to have that conversation with me and with their parents before they even were allowed to, so that they could understand what was happening.
And how about can I ask a question, Floyd, as a follow-up?
Please. This is an open conversation.
So what in the auditions, did he audition with those sides? And did he bring it in the audition? And then when he got to set, he got scared?
Oh, you're talking about the cop?
Yeah.
Oh, no, yeah, the cop. So I did not audition this guy. I've worked with this guy on 2 other films. Okay. So I just cast him, and he's a good guy, but I knew he could bring it. I knew it would be tough for him to get there. Because he wouldn't want to say, he could do it, but he's got to get in there. But I'd worked with him before. I knew he could do it. I knew he wouldn't want to do it in that, but I knew he could. So, yeah.
I have a question for you ladies. So you guys had all these personal experiences. You took them all, put them on the page, took them from the page, put them on the screen, impressed audiences, festival goers, etc. You're now Oscar qualified. What does that mean to you? Nomination or not?
I would say, although I am all about validating myself, I think for me, it shows like the quality and the level of work that, the quality and level of my output and what I can ask for, what type of talent I can attract, and what I'm capable of. So that's what it means to me. A nomination would be absolutely incredible. And I'm not going to lie, I have had an Oscar on my vision board since 2007. But I do know that winning isn't, or being nominated is not the end all be all. Like this, I hope this is not my first. I hope this is the first of many. But I think for this first time getting to this level has showed me the process, what to do, what it takes, how to persevere, how to sustain, how to stand out. And I think this is definitely a learning experience for me in terms of like operating on this caliber.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a couple of things that kind of come to mind and kind of percolate with your question, Okima. And I don't know if this is, a full answer to that. But, when I first started making films or just making stories as a director, I didn't even expect to win. I remember the first time when I went to, the first thing I made was it wasn't the first thing, but a digital series called Keloid. And I won at the October Film Festival. And I wasn't even going to go to the award ceremony. And literally I was on the couch in some in some jeans and a t-shirt. And my wife called me and she's like, "Isn't your award ceremony tonight?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to win." She's like, "Huriyyah, get up and just go. Like, go. You don't know. Just go." And so I went and we won. And I remember, man, who's at Stewart Cinema? What's
Who, Emmeline?
Emily. She was like, you didn't expect to win because she saw me in my sneakers and my win, did you? And so now, you know, that was like 7 years ago. Where I am now, I walk in expecting to win because not because, you know, of any, it's not an ego thing, but it's about a recognition that my work can stand toe to toe with anybody else's work, you know, and that has been such a journey from that moment to this moment, you know, and we became Oscar qualified when we won the HBO short film competition this year at ABFF. And we were in competition with some really amazing films, you know, and I expected us to win, not because of anything against those films, because those films were beautiful, but just that I know that I respect the work that we do and the stories that we put on the screen. I feel like it could stand toe to toe with anybody's work. And so now to be Oscar qualified, like you, Kameishia, I've had an Oscar on my vision board. I've had the speech, and I think that really means a lot less to me today than it did when I first started thinking about it, because, you know, I feel like the industry, I have a different vantage point of what it means and just life in general. You know what I mean? Like, so it's a little bit, it just means something different to me, but I'm just very grateful to the filmmakers, to the collaborators that helped me to make this film. I'm so grateful to you, Okima, for producing this film. You know, I'm so grateful to you for, you know, walking with me through this journey of telling stories. This is not our first film together. And I'm so grateful to the people who have seen the film and the reaction that the film has gotten. And I'm just in a space of such immense gratitude, you know, right now, nomination, win or not, you know, et cetera. The fact that the film has had the journey that it's had.
Wow, that's I totally feel you there. I mean, the gratitude. So the funny thing is, my producers, and one in particular, Chris Beal, from the very beginning was like, I'm all about us trying to get an Oscar. I was like, what? So I was like, girl, I'm just trying to tell my story. She was like, I'm trying to get an Oscar. And so I was always just about, this is a story I had to tell. That's all I'm really here. But then my producers have been so enthusiastic about this journey that it was catching, right? So because we were so well received, and, you know, every time I was always surprised. I will say that. Now, I think we have an incredible film. Yes, we could go toe to toe with anyone, but I was still always surprised when we would win, right? And so as we would like win awards and things, my producers were like, see, we have to just keep going. And so their enthusiasm about it was catching. I too had the whole Oscar thing on my vision board. You know, vision boards were a thing a few years ago. We were all doing the vision boards, right?
Not just a few years ago.
They still are, right? Yes.
Uh-huh.
And but I actually I helped create a diversity and inclusion program. I helped research and develop the Academy Gold program. So after that happened, I was like, oh, well, I guess that's my connection with the Oscars on my vision board. But now I'm like, Oscar qualified. I'm like, no, it's an expanded vision now. And I'm super excited just to be here. Super excited that we did all the things in order to get Oscar qualified, because there's still a lot of work to do. Even if you get Oscar qualified, you got to do all the things that get on the. It's not easy. And it's such a journey. And I'm just so excited. And what I will say is it really underscores my team. I had an incredible team of co-collaborators. A Black woman who was my DP, Erin G. Wesley. She is a star. My production design team, because it was a period piece and we didn't have a lot of money, but, you know, and we shot during the 2 strikes. So we were so grateful to get this type of talent, to have them be available and love our film enough to jump in and, you know, maybe not get what they typically would get, but, you know, everybody was able to work. It was a win-win in that way. So I'm just truly just thankful. And I did want to say, Huriyyah, make sure you're not in jeans and sneakers, because you got to get that.
Yeah, I don't show.
You got to get all glammed up, because the Oscar might. You don't know.
Listen, bro, she be cute. She be cute. She be cute.
Okay,
It
y'all.
depends on the type of sneakers.
That last little outfit I had on. Okay.
She be cute. She be cute.
And it depends on the type of sneakers you're wearing. Because if you come in with some red bottom sneakers on, I don't think nobody gonna say too much.
I actually wear sneakers with formal. I stopped wearing heels the pandemic. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna find me some sneakers to match this gown.
Yeah.
Like I have been wearing sneakers to all my stuff.
That's what's up.
We switch it up. We switch it up. I know that the other question I want to ask, and it might be a little sensitive, so if you choose not to respond, I respect it.
Mm-hmm.
Being Oscar qualified is phenomenal. Whether you have won a qualifying festival, whether you have played in qualifying theaters, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's amazing. Once you're qualified, though, if you don't have that, like if for anyone who doesn't know, last year's Oscar qualified short that won the Oscar was made by Wes Anderson. Now, we love Mr. Anderson. He's done all the things. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
That man ain't need that. He didn't need it.
He didn't show up to the ceremony either.
He didn't show up to the ceremony.
Oh my God.
Right? But Wes Anderson has the $40,000 that it costs to mount a full, thorough for-your consideration campaign.
More like $100,000.
Now, I'm not counting nobody's pockets but my own, right? I ain't got $4,000. Let alone 40, right? So I'm guessing that these beautiful ladies here, that we all have some level of fiscal restriction to be able to do what like a Wes Anderson can do.
Mm-hmm.
So talk to me about doing a grassroots for your consideration effort where you can't say Oscar, where you're not supposed to say Oscar. You're not supposed to say Academy. You're not supposed to tell anyone you're on the screening room. And then looking around and seeing that others have done these things that you have not done by playing by some of the rules. Talk to me a little bit about that process, because I feel like it's about showing me the goalpost, letting me get close to it, and then moving it forward. That's what it feels like. So talk to me about that.
I want to give Kameishia her flowers, because she has been really incredible and I've learned so much from her, and she's been just supporting everyone, but she's really good at this marketing and her campaigning. So I've just been taking notes, but and being the beneficiary of everything that she's doing. But I also will say, I don't know that I followed all those rules.
I followed them initially, and then when I saw other people doing it, I was like, you know what, let me screenshot this and go ahead and put that. So if they come at me, I got if you're gonna take me down, all these other people are going down too. So that I have been not really breaking the rules, but I have been like making sure people know why what this is for. Because even someone was like, what for your consideration best live action short film? What does that mean? Like, they know what Oscar means. They don't necessarily connect the two. Mm-hmm. So, to be completely honest, we are coming in this race as the underdogs. And I don't know if y'all know this. No, there has not been a Black female winner in this category.
Ever.
Wow.
So it would be historical if one of us made it to that. We have been nominated, but we have never won.
We've only been nominated a handful of times, though.
Diane Houston was nominated, right?
Yep.
She did not win. Okay, all right.
She did not win. So it'll be a historical moment for one of us to make it, or to make it to that level. But they have those rules to level the playing field, but they really hinder those who don't have the resources or an A-list publicist to really get who can make calls on your behalf.
Right.
Yeah, I think that you have to, with everything that you do, you have to be strategic, and you have to have an end goal in mind and know why you're doing something.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, then things can just be a distraction, from you actually advancing, in your career. If you go, so for me with the Oscar qualification, I think that it's amazing. But I definitely was not about to spend, $800 per blast to the Oscar, to the Academy list. When there's somebody like a Wes Anderson who, they can make tons of blasts. There's films that have really, big production companies behind them, and they have it in their budget, in their marketing budgets, to actually send out the blast, because it's not just about, letting people know that your film is Oscar qualified. It's about making sure that the voting Academy members are aware. And how do you specifically target the voting Academy members? There is a cost to that. And also, not every voting Academy member can vote on the short films. Like, they have to opt in, from what I understand. And so I know a number of Academy members, voting Academy members, but they actually have gone to the Academy website and looked for Chocolate with Sprinkles, and they couldn't find it because they're not opted in for the short film. And so there's just a lot of rigmarole. And I really honestly was not going to allow this to become like this rabbit hole that I go down and distract me from some of the other larger goals that I have. There's a reason why I made Chocolate with Sprinkles. There's a reason why I'm doing spending my time on what I'm spending my time on. And you just have to know where you're going, because you can chase any shiny thing. And if this is one of those things that is like, okay, strategically, this makes sense for you, then go for it. You know what I'm saying? But I think that when people come to me and they say, I want to make this film, I say, why? Why do you make this film?
I agree. I was not going to enter the campaign either, but I had so many people coming at me saying, why won't you take it all the way? And I am an all the way person. Like, my whole life, if I'm participating in something, what is the furthest I can go? And I've always functioned that way. Like, I'm not a half do this, half do that person. And plus, I've worked at 2 studios, and I work on delivery and distribution. That's how my hustle money. So I've worked on big Oscar campaigns, like literally supplying the awards team that the studio hires with information for them to properly market the film and whoever they're nominating or putting up for awards. So I knew what it took to win. And I was like, I do not have the resources to operate on that level. But when my film kept getting into Oscar qualifying film festivals, even after a whole year of being on the festival circuit, I had landed 3 Oscar qualifying film festivals. And I was like, okay,
the Lord is trying to tell me something.
Exactly. And 3 people differently. And then a friend of mine had a come to Jesus moment call with me about not, doing it. And so I was like, okay, if it's easy, I'll do it. And qualifying was effortless for me. But, and so I was like, okay, I'll do it. And so that's what brought me here. But I'm like you, I don't want to mess up your name.
Huriyyah.
I was okay. I was going to say something else. That's why I was like, oh, I know in my head. But I'm like you in terms of not letting this be a distraction. It's one of the reasons why I didn't hire a publicist at this stage. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do what I know to do. And then if I make it on the short list, I will, roll out everything. And I tap fundraising people who volunteer to fundraise, if I'm shortlisted, so we can get the money to campaign to win. And so that is kind of like where I am too. I'm going to do it grassroots. And then if I make it to the next level, then I'll compete.
Then we turn it up.
Yep, we turn it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's I believe there's about 200 short films that are Oscar qualified. And I believe they choose 15 of those for the short list.
I think it's 20.
Is it 20 now? I heard it was 15, but
and then
20 is great. That gives us a better chance.
And then from there, 5 are nominated.
Right, and then from there, 5 are nominated. But to be sure, to just be qualified is an honor. Obviously, to hit that short list would be an honor. That's where you put all your pennies in the bag to get the bag, right? And then being Oscar nominated would be it would be a dream. but I had to get there. I had to be nudged a bit, like, to get in there. It just seems like it's such a far-reaching goal. It's like this brass ring thing that, it's and you have to, it's political, and it's all these things. You need money, it's political, you need maybe talent in your film or whatever. That's what it seems like. So it's not even something that I was really thinking about at all. But my team was, and I'm happy that they were, because here we are.
Yeah.
So,
I think we have going for us is that our film starts with C, so we're higher up.
oh, okay.
Listen, all of the things continually mean something. Like even the smallest, most seemingly minute thing. But thank you for answering that question in that way, because I want the people to know that this is not a given, and just because you are either positioned to be qualified or you win a qualifying festival, it doesn't mean that you're going to then proceed to be shortlisted. You look at something like Row in the Stardust, which was amazing, and it won all the festivals and it was qualified, and they didn't get shortlisted. But also, you watch them on Netflix today. Yeah. So, like, there's so many alternatives to what does and doesn't happen. Yeah. But as a producer of one of these films, I want to thank all of you as directors for the producers that you brought on and the teams that you brought on, because whatever your trajectory is or your end goal is, it really does also help us in the supportive spaces and places to be like, oh, I'm an Oscar qualified producer. Mm-hmm. I'm an Oscar qualified DP. You know what I mean? Like, those things matter to the rest of the crew too. So yes. Kudos to you all for who you've brought onto this journey with you, because your footsteps in the snow don't get clouded by fresh snow. We follow right behind them. So thank you to you guys for that.
Listen, that's one of the things I love about filmmaking, is that it's such a collaborative medium.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, even, as a writer, director, what I envision from the page, it just is so amazing when I see it come to life. I'm so thankful. I mentioned this, but we had Reno Wilson and Keisha Thompson and Cameron Jones. Like, these guys brought so much they brought the stuff, like they just came and brought the stuff. And then we had this amazing DP who I'm like one of the hardest workers out there, but this woman was, she got me because she works. Okay. I love me a hardworking person, because I work so hard. And so I remember one time when we were in prep, we shot the film in LA, and I happened to be out at the Grove, and I just called her with an idea. And I was like, Bella, her name is Bella Finn Parasite, and she's an amazing DP. And I was like, I had this idea. And she's like, where are you right now? I'm coming right there. We just gonna put it on paper. We gonna I love that. Right now. And she met me there in like 15 minutes. Like this. So I'm just so thankful to all of the different, our producers, Cole and Yamoria, and everybody who worked on Chocolate with Sprinkles. They just did the damn thing,
Yeah, you are only as good as your crew. Like you,
yes.
I think it is not, directing is a collaborative medium. And I don't think everybody knows how collaborative it is. And picking your team is so important. So
important. Yeah. I mean, they made us, I'm going to just say it for me. They made me look good, especially those kids. Because, everybody's like, no kids, no dogs in your movie. I was like, those two kids were stars. And they were already stars, right? And they're going to be even bigger stars in my mind. They were fantastic. And like I said, the team was great. I have to shout out my other producer, Carol Ann Shine, and Dominic DeLeon. They were that was the core. We say it was blood, sweat, and tears, and that is not an exaggeration.
Yeah, I agree. And I shout out mine to Megan Polares, Victoria Brown, and my other producer, my Janae Green. They really, it was the best working experience I ever had as a director, and they were putting out fires they know about until after we wrapped, and I love that. Like, handling issues.
That's how it's supposed to be.
right? And I was like, we almost got shut down. What?
Oh, does that happen to everybody?
When did that happen?
Like, and it was because some stray dogs were on our set, you know, and Film LA had sent monitors to different sets, and they were there, and the dogs were there, and they were about to shut us down, and we didn't get rid of the dogs. So, and I didn't know that. I just saw two huskies like on the other side of the football field, and I was like, wow, like, you know. And then I was just working with my crew, and they were over there handling it, had no idea until after we wrapped. Like, what?
Don't feel bad. We went through the same. I was on the other side of the earth and getting calls like, listen, here's my card. Just do it.
I know that's right. But I wanted to ask you ladies a question. Huriyyah, something that you had mentioned earlier about it's great that all of you are not Oscar nominated, but it doesn't have the same emotional impact that it otherwise would have maybe a few years ago. So does it mean more that all of you are Oscar qualified for what it can do for you in the future as far as future work is coming, you know, maybe more than likely because you're Oscar qualified, say you, and I'm just saying this, you don't win, but the fact that you can, as Okima was saying, I'm Oscar qualified and I had an Oscar qualifying crew. Does that mean more than if you guys don't win? The fact that that's on your resume. So going forward, when someone says, well, I don't know if Tamika has what it takes, and you can say, well, shit, look at my resume. What does it say? So what do you ladies say to that?
I would.
Go for it.
I was, you know what? I have friends who were qualified. I mean, who were shortlisted. They are still trying to break through.
Wow.
Yes. And I follow the ones who were nominated. And to be honest, outside of like the ones who are already made it, the ones who were, you know, emerging, they are still trying to break through. This award, for some reason, is not advancing people's careers. I don't know if it's just this category or the short film category, but you know, a lot of short filmmakers are already established, and so their careers are going. I know people they're already in the business and, you know, successful in the business, but people who are emerging, I have not seen you know, them reaching this status, helping them, you know, significantly. It doesn't help significantly from what I have been seeing. You know, I know it takes time to break through, but it has not moved from me following filmmakers and having friends who have gotten to this level. It hasn't moved the needle much.
You know what, Floyd, what I was going to say is that everything is, I feel, in life in general is what you make it, you know, and it's what you make it and it's how you work it. And it's about what your particular goal is and what your end game is, you know. And so, you know, Okima, you know, she was mentioning, Okima's getting ready to direct her first narrative short, you know, and I know when Okima has her film that's winning awards, she gonna work the hell out of it. You know what I mean? And because that's just Okima. You know, Okima put up a post about her boots and get like 800 likes. You know what I mean? What?
Little boost is fire.
I mean, like, so things is just, but this is an industry. So I'll say that. So I'll say that. So for somebody who is like, okay, my film was Oscar qualified, and talking to if you work it in a certain way, maybe that might help you get the funding for your feature. You know what I mean? Right. With some financiers or some investors, you know, or you know, in terms of like, you know, breaking into the studio system or a major funding, that type of thing. This is an industry where it's very much about what have you done for me lately? And if you haven't done nothing for me lately, you know what I mean? You just knocking at the door. And even those people who have made studio films, etc. It still is, once that film is done, they're still like trying to make their next one. And it's hard, you know what I mean? Because it's a very, what have you done for me lately type of, just, this is just the way Hollywood works from my vantage point, what I've learned, you know. So I think that, you know, to your question, what kind of impact will this have? I think it can have great impact if you work in a certain way, you know.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I have a friend who was shortlisted, and it took him several years, and I mean several years, but he was able to get the funding and get a big star in his in order to make his feature. And he did make his feature from the short, but it took quite some time in order for him to do it. And now that I'm thinking about it, I think it was his second. It wasn't even that film that was the one. It was another film that was all over the festival circuit, but he was shortlisted for the Oscars, which gave him the bump. And he was very strategic about getting a team and you know, getting reps and all of that kind of stuff. And you have to just keep working. You literally have to keep working, you got to keep creating.
Can I add one more? I think also for me, I will say Choices has a theme of reproductive freedom, sisterhood, and also positive representation of Black teens. And it getting to this level, playing at all the film festivals, has really elevated the message. Like, I've been able to do a lot of impact screenings, partner with Californians for Choice, Black Women for Wellness. And so I think it has, being at this level has brought more impact, and it also has created more conversation around the film. And that really is my purpose for making Choices. Like, that is what drives me to be on this journey as well, to push the film, is because of the message.
Yeah, and that's like last year I had a chance to moderate a conversation with a documentary that made it to the shortlist called To Kill a Tiger. And this doc was, they didn't have any kind of big funding. It was a grassroots, you know, Oscar campaign. And they said the same thing, that the Oscar was not our goal. The goal was to bring awareness for the film. And that, to me, and also for us as filmmakers, like, we are the product at this point. And so the goal is not necessarily to win the Oscar. That would be great. But at the same time, we still have to build our name, build our brand, build our, you know, our following as filmmakers, you know, so that we can so that it opens up another door for us. You know what I mean? And to what Tamika said about you have to keep working. I heard a really great quote, you know, it was that success will find you, but it has to find you working, you know. So you just got to keep going, you know. Or you can say, which is respectable too, like, you know what, I make a different choice, and I'm going to choose to pursue something else in my life, or pursue some other kind of pursuit. And that's okay too, because there's this whole thing where don't quit, keep going, don't quit, you know, like, and people feel bad about, like, you know what, I know so many people who went to film school and they don't even work in this industry anymore, but they are still happy, you know. And that's okay.
I think the longevity in this career is redefining what success looks like for you. And I went through that. And it really, for me, it cannot be about the destination. It really has to be about the journey, and also operating in your core values and how you do it. Because I feel like if you do that, you have longevity. Because I've been doing this. I've been at this for a really long time. But I also have been happy too with my journey, you know, just by reframing it, knowing what the type of life I want to live, living that now, not waiting. Because some people will be miserable until they make it. And I think that is why people leave the business, because they won't allow themselves to experience joy or happiness without obtaining that career goal. But I think for me, the longevity comes from shifting my perspective of what success is, like being successful now. Like, this is success for me now. That's how I keep up with it.
I agree with that. And I will add something to the don't quit. So I think it's all in how you frame it, right? And I totally feel where you're coming from with that. So I would say don't quit, pivot. because the pivot, quitting is just giving up.
Yeah.
No, you don't give up. You can pivot to do whatever you want to do that makes you happy. That's the not quitting part to me. It's how I look at it. Don't quit. You don't want to do that. That's not making you happy anymore. You're not feeling what you need to feel successful from that, whatever. Pivot to something else that you really love, that you can really express yourself, that makes you happy. And that could look any kind of way. It can maybe not even be in the entertainment business.
And I love the idea of the pivot because you're using the skills, the experience, the knowledge that you've gained along the way to further propel your journey.
Yes.
Yeah, it's all transferable. And, I started in this business 20 years ago, and where I started is definitely not where I am. But interestingly enough, along the journey, I found that where I thought I wanted to be was just a stop along the way. Because I started out as an actor, and then I created a film festival, and I was writing and producing my own films and plays. And I found that I really loved bringing on that side of the camera as opposed to in front of it. And then when I transitioned from that, now here I am doing podcasts where I get to talk to some of the most amazing people in the world. And I'm happy. And the last pivot that I made, because I was actually about to end my podcast. I was done. I had a long talk with my wife, and I said, I'm hanging it up because it was getting a little tedious. And she said, are you sure you want to do that? Because I've been doing it for 4 years. And I said, well, I'll think about it. But then I said, you know what? How about we just go in a different direction? And then that's when I said, I'm going to go to more of a roundtable format, and I'm going to add a co-host. Yeah. So then I got on the phone a couple of weeks ago, and I called this young lady sitting at the bottom right of your screen. And I'm so happy I did that.
Listen, you got you got a good one right here. Okay.
Absolutely.
Now, okay. Listen, okay, you did Okima. I'm telling you, this woman is gold right here.
I hit the lottery.
Yeah.
Yes. I actually introduced myself to Akima because we're social media friends, but she was moderating a panel at Diversity International Film Festival, and she was phenomenal. Like, I think you mentioned something about a divine calling on the panel and asking the filmmakers I was like, oh my God. Like, I feel like that's how I approach all my stories. They come to me. It's almost like a divine calling, and she phrased it.
It's the way she puts those words together.
Yes.
Yes, I'm like, who even thinks like that?
How about I've been using that in all of my panels. It was a divine calling.
All these words are free.
Okay.
Here's the interesting thing. They always say 6 degrees of separation. I'm a big believer in energy. Now, I've known Kima for a few years because I met her at the October Film Fest with Emmeline. I met her through Emmeline. And Kameishia is one of my mentees. I had no idea that they had met when Kameishia sent me the email asking me that I want to speak to you dynamic ladies. And then she says, I think you, and then when I saw the film Chocolate with Sprinkles, I said, that's Okima's film. So it's amazing that when you put the right type of energy out there, you will always draw the right people to you. And the fact that, they had just met, but the two of us actually, 3 of us actually knew each other. So there's something to be said about energy and synergy, but that's
absolutely. I mean, even Tamika, I want to say maybe 8 years ago, I applied to her program. I wasn't ready, didn't get in. I waited 2 years, applied again, didn't get in. Applied again, was a semifinalist. Applied again, was a semifinalist. Applied again, was a finalist. Then I didn't apply again because they didn't have money that year. It would be my luck.
Right. I was like,
when they not giving out paper.
Okay.
I'm away.
No, I'm away.
Yeah. I was like, you need to apply when they got the money, honey.
Yeah. I was like, we done made it to finalists after applying all these times. I'm away. But you just never know. But I am so proud of each of you. You guys are telling stories that show that there is not one type of Black. You are telling stories that show that there is not one type of world that we as Black people live in and amongst, and because of, you are encouraging people to love each other, their partners, their families, themselves. And you're representing us in all of these different ways, but for so many good reasons. And so for me, as a consumer of what you are putting out, I am proud of you. I am so happy for your stories and that they continue to enrich me and my life and what I'm trying to do. I'm inspired by you all as a Black female director who's coming up behind you. And Oscar or not, the cool part is it's some little Black kid named Oscar in some little neighborhood that is like, I saw that and I saw me. And so you won. Right?
Yeah.
You won the Oscar around the way.
Yeah.
What, you win the Oscar on the white, in the white way.
Yeah.
You won the Oscar in the right way.
Yeah.
Okay.
You are right. You are right. You are right in my book.
Love that.
I purposely applied to so many festivals where I just have family because I just wanted them to see the film. And it was, a film about, my parents, and I wanted them to see their brother, see their uncle, see their aunt, and all of my family all over the US they've gotten a chance to see the film because it's been accepted to so many festivals. And you're right. Like that to me is has been so amazing. So
yeah, I agree with you with the family. It's the first time most of my family have come to see Choices. I'm from North Carolina, but all of my aunts, my two remaining aunts, because I lost a lot of relatives during COVID, all the women in my family actually came to see my premiere in New York. And it was such an emotional experience. And one of my aunts, she's a teen mom, and I have all representation of choices in my film, like a pregnant teen, an abortion, and one that's dealing with waiting on the results to come. And so my aunt was like, she finally feels seen. She was a teen mom and she cried during my screening and was telling me she felt seen and thank you. She was like, thank you for making this film. And that was my Oscar.
And that's what it is.
Yeah.
It is. This has been amazing. I'm gonna give it to the man with the plan to close us out. But I am so excited, and please, continue to let us know where your journey is. We follow you guys on social. We'll make sure that we put this, your information in the posts so that other people can follow your journey and see your beautiful stories and see themselves on screen.
thank you.
Thank you all so much. Thank you.
This has been absolutely amazing, and you definitely, you all have to come back because I enjoy just sitting listening. And the thing that I love about doing this is the things that I get to learn. That's the beauty of doing this podcast. And I've made some new friends today, which is always a bonus. But before we go, can each of you tell everyone where they can find you and where they can follow you on social media?
Sure. I'm at you can find a film at chocolatewsprinkles.com, www.chocolatewsprinkles.com. And I'm on social under my first name. If you just do a search at Huriyyah, I'm on Instagram under that and Facebook. So yeah, definitely follow me. I'm trying to get like Lady O and have a couple of in my posts. So
Right. You can find me, just put in my name, Tamika Lamison, but my IG is BAOBABT, and we have an IG for our film, Superman Doesn't Steal, and a website for the film, Superman Doesn't Steal, as well. And follow us and reach out.
You can find me first and last name, Kameishia Wooten, but my Instagram handle is at CamRock06. And also have Choices for my film, Choices FYC. We have 2 more Los Angeles screenings coming up. One is on December 10th playing in the Culver City Film Festival. Actually at LA Live, although it is the Culver City Film Festival, it'll be playing downtown, and also playing in North Hollywood on December 12th in the Black Magic Collective. Film Festival, and playing in Hong Kong tomorrow. So
amazing.
He's playing today.
Congrats.
It's tomorrow in Hong Kong.
Today. Okay.
Okay.
It's tomorrow already there.
Oh, okay. I don't know what the time difference is between here and Hong Kong. Okay, but today it's playing in Hong Kong today, and you can.
It could be playing right now.
You can check my website for a screening schedule and tickets to first and last name KameishiaWooten.com as well.
That's amazing. Okay, I have to shout out my film is playing tomorrow at the Worcester Screening Room for your consideration with 2 other wonderful films. Nate and they're gonna kill me. It's an animated film. It's so good. I think it's called Nate and John, and the other one is How to Sue the Klan, a documentary. Fantastic. And come check those out. And then on November 14th with the new Filmmakers of LA December screenings. You can check it out then. So come on out.
Well, we have screenings for Chocolate Sprinkles, but we can't announce them yet because they haven't been announced. But just keep up with us. Just keep up.
Keep up.
So where can they find you, Okima?
Here.
Okay. Sounds good enough. Sounds good. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining myself, Huriyyah, Muhamad, Tamika Lamison, Kameishia Wooten, and Okima T. Moore on a conversation with. This has been such an amazing conversation. Make sure that you follow each of these wonderful women. They are phenomenal at what they do. I thoroughly enjoyed each and every one of their films. They were phenomenal, and they all had such a profound and dynamic message. And again, if you like what you heard, share it with all of your friends. Make sure you subscribe. And again, thank you guys so much for being here. And thank you for tuning in to a conversation with Floyd Marshall and my amazing new co-host, Okima T. Moore. And I will end it as I always do. Love it like a hobby, but treat it like a business. Everyone have an absolutely amazing, amazing night.
Thank you.
Guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Take care.